Hello everyone, welcome to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television, reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. My name is Dr. Laz Eze. Yes, you may recall that the previous week we started a conversation that so many persons are very much interested in, and the reactions have been rolling in. In fact, since a couple of weeks ago when we started talking about medical scam or health scams or whatever name I used to call it. And I had with me Dr. Obinna Ossai, who joined us from Ukraine, Zaporizhia to be precise. He's the founder of Contra Health Scam and also a medical laboratory scientist. So today we'll just continue the conversation from where we ended the previous week. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program once again.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Obinna.
Thank you, Dr. Laz.
All right, great. Thanks. Glad to have you guys again. So we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll just get into the discussion proper. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. Yes, we are talking about some shady practices in the health sector or in medical practice or in hospitals. And we have professionals who are here to discuss that, of course. And like I said the previous week, majority of healthcare professionals, overwhelming majority, especially in Africa, where they are not adequate in number, where they have to overstretch themselves to provide services, are good, professional, and honest people. But we still have few who engage in some practices, and even those who are not even like professionals, who are quacks, that engage in these practices and also do the wrong thing because of the poor regulation of the practice. So we are exposing this so that you as a patient, you know that some of these things happen and you ask the right questions, especially where you suspect that something is not happening right. The previous week we talked about typhoid and malaria, misdiagnosis. We talked about issues around blood donation. We talked about the diuretics, what we call the diuretic scam. But this week we are going to continue from others. So let me begin with you, Dr. Ossai. There is this practice that usually happens in some private facilities around the continent in Nigeria and some parts of Africa, and where you use quacks at night. So can you speak to this quacks at night issue?
Okay, so what happens is that some clinics, they have night shifts services, when they have to take care of patients who come in at night with certain diseases. But then they have this problem of understaffing, especially in clinics that, it's run by only one doctor. There's only one doctor in the clinic. And of course, the doctor is a human being and
Right.
the doctor needs to rest after I had this job. And since they still want to make money in the night, admit more patients and all these things, and the doctor can't keep up with the job. So what happens is that maybe with the doctor's knowledge or without the doctor's knowledge, I don't know. But what happens is that instead of the doctor to be the one taking care of the patients at night, it will be someone posing as a doctor, giving advice to the nurses on how to take care of these patients, or maybe serving as a to the doctor. So the doctor will be the one sending the information through the person, and then the person will tell the nurses, okay, see what you're supposed to do for this patient, etc., etc. So basically, the doctor is not in charge.
Right.
No doctor is in charge at
Not
night.
someone
It's
that will be
only someone
posing
claiming
as
to
a
be a
doctor.
doctor that is in charge at night.
Does this only happen among doctors? Do you also have quackery in, say, nursing profession or even other professions that, happen at night? Have you observed any of that?
I haven't actually, and honestly speaking, I don't think I can speak for the nurses, but I also understand from the little information I gathered that there are also instances of fake nurses, and we also see it in the news sometimes where we have incidences of fake nurses carrying out certain procedures that are not trained in, but I can't really say for sure because this is not something I actually paid attention to. But the one I know certainly that happens is the fake doctor at night type.
Okay, so thanks for that. Fake doctor at night. You can have fake anything. Even in the daytime, we have some. I've actually seen some in some parts of the country where, like, choose, we go and open up a health facility and be claiming doctors and even force some certificates and put on the wall. So, but let's me get to Chibueze Obi-George. Um, Last week we talked about some practices around blood. So are there some other shady practices within the medical lab that some persons get engaged, whether they are quacks, because there are also quacks who parade themselves as medical laboratory scientists and they are not. Are there some of other practices you want to tell us about?
Yes, there's a lot. But let me quickly say one of some that are really very crucial. Right. Like one of them in Nigeria that I've observed is what we call computer tests. There are something we call
computer tests.
Computer tests. Yes, you see some people posting like medical lab scientists, or they will tell you, or they are radiographers or something, but they just use a computer and they will screen you and tell you that your heart, your liver, your kidney, all your organs are this or that, without doing the standard, which is taking your blood sample or having a correct CT scan or other proven method of diagnosis. So one of the basic scams that people that are observed in medical laboratory practice is people opening some labs and doing some tests with a computer, and they give wrong diagnosis to patients, and patients are overwhelmed with drugs and so many things after some wrong diagnosis. So another wrong practice.
Yeah, Chibueze, before you mention that one, I want to say that, yes, I've seen this precisely at Area 1 shopping center in Gariki area of Abuja, where I went to buy something and someone came in with a box, was marketing to the traders that he has this computer, you check your body, and it's going to check everything around your body and tell you what is wrong and what is not. And I pretended as if I was just playing along because he was marketing that to me. And I was asking, what's the mechanism through which you just by putting this on my body, the computer will show you everything? So when I started asking, I told him that he's a quack and he's misleading people and that I was going to call the police. In fact, you saw a shirt I was putting on, a shirt we used to do work for universal health coverage, written Federal Minister of Health. So he got scared and ran away. So just to validate what you're saying, and when you probe for that, you find out that these people had no background at all in medical practice.
They are not even medical professionals at all. They are not, most of them are not.
And they go around the streets and deceive people and make money.
Exactly, and people patronize them. So we have to bring the attention of people to that.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so mention that one very quickly, because just like last week, our time is moving very fast.
Yes. Okay, and in the lab also, we have some persons that, for example, we have something we call full blood count test. The full blood count test is supposed to comprise both the white blood cell count, you count your red blood cells, check your blood volume and other
platelet count, all of that.
Yeah, platelets and so on. But you see, some labs, they just run your PCV, they your pack cell volume to check the volume. They'll just, if they see the blood, they'll just write, when I see some results, they'll just write anything because they believe that nobody, the patient don't know what it's all about.
So they'll write without actually doing the test.
Yes, writing a result, that's falsifying those figures without actually doing the test. And some of them I've observed, even here in Enugu, some of them is because the wrong professionals man those labs. You see some labs, instead of employing a medical lab, maybe science lab tech, that is not a core medical professional, working, and the person is signing results. And definitely the person will not know how to do, because that is not part of the person's curriculum.
Exactly.
The person will not know, but because you want to maximize profit, you don't want to pay the right professionals. So you see, they falsify those results. So blood test is one of the most scammed tests for people now, because they will just write anything and tell you that your blood is okay.
This looks very scary because it looks very scary because full blood count is one test that gives you so much information about the body system, you know.
Exactly.
And we are bringing this, the patients just want to get better. They just want to get well. They don't know who is quack and who is not. They will go to a health facility and hoping that they get the best. But, you know, some of our colleagues are failing them. I think the authorities really need to pay attention to this because it's not in the place of the patients to know what is happening behind the scene. Okay, so...
to know the right facility.
Exactly. So I think we have a couple of minutes before we take another break. And I'll come to Dr. Ossai. There is this blood cleansing scam that happens, and it tends to happen a lot around commercial areas, maybe around the markets, where they will tell people, we will give you this medication, is going to wash all impurities of your system. And they will give them a particular medication, and they will pass some yellowish or reddish urine, and they will tell them, yes, now you've been cleansed. And they take a lot of money from people. So please kindly enlighten our viewers more about it.
Okay, this is actually pretty common. I don't think it happens only in Nigeria, but I know that it does happen a lot in Nigeria, especially in places where there are wealthy people who otherwise wouldn't have even gone to actually look for this particular type of cleansing the blood. The people peddling this particular scam, they need to convince people to actually do it, because most times people don't walk into the hospital asking doctors to cleanse their blood, or they're coming for a checkup and they're asking to clean their blood. Again, so they actually sold this idea that if I give you this drug now, all the things that are worrying you, or you'll be more fortified, no sickness will come in, you don't have to come and pay me money later on with sickness. Again, so that's why they sell this particular idea to people, and unfortunately, because most people don't know any better when it comes to, you know, health and all those things, they think that they're actually being sold some miracle that will protect them from malaria, typhoid, the staphylococcus, especially, and all those things.
That staphylococcus is another big scam that, you know, they used to scare people and take a lot of money from them, but it's entirely a conversation for another day. So which particular drug do they normally use?
I forgot to talk about that.
Right.
So normally the drug that they use is this drug called rifampicin.
Which is an antibiotic.
Rifampicin is an antibiotic that is used mainly for treating tuberculosis. And what the mechanism of action of this drug is such that the body actually distributes this everywhere in the body, especially in the body fluids. So because of that, it tends to change the color of body fluids. You get like urine especially, your sweat, your tears. You get, and the drug itself is red in color. So what you are seeing, the reddish color you are seeing from the drug is just the result of the metabolites, what the drugs are composed of. So these are the things that gets reflected in your tears, in your sweat, or in your saliva, and
the person will be happy feeling.
And the person will be passing it, and then but it's a very common characteristic of this drug. It's well known in the medical world that this is how this drug works.
It's a
but unfortunately, people
don't
know. So, but people like the people in the street, regular person in the street doesn't know this information, and then this scammers use it against them to make money.
Right. So what's the implication? What's the implication of this practice to the health system and to our public health?
Yeah, of course. The obvious implication is that your body will become resistant to rifampicin. And so when, God forbid, something like you go down with tuberculosis, which is historically difficult to treat, then the drug rifampicin will no longer be an option for you.
But it's actually treatable and curable, though.
Yeah, it will even, and these days we are now dealing with drug-resistant tuberculosis. TB. You know, here in Ukraine, we have like a specific specialty dedicated only to treating tuberculosis called physiatry. You know, and they talk about all this drug resistance being a big problem now in tuberculosis.
It's also a big problem here in Nigeria, multi-drug resistance TB,
multi-drug resistant
abuse
TB.
of the various antibiotics.
And rifampicin now, is just one of the very few drugs that are effective for tuberculosis. And then we abusing it this way.
Can
This
you
comes
round up
abusing it
in
this way.
seconds, sir?
Yeah, and this comes abusing the one drug that we have, the one of the few drugs we have for TB this way. It's actually very detrimental for our health. Okay. And it's something that the people need to know, so that these people that do this practice should be exposed and rounded up, so that they will not end up destroying the health of the population.
Thank you very much. Yes, if anybody tells you, I give you this drug, it's going to wash away all impurities in your body and you become whole, the person is a scammer. Report that person. It's scam. We are not mincing words. There's no particular drug that you take and it will wash away all that. It's just scam, pure scam. All right, so thanks for that. We are going to take another break, and when we return, we'll talk about just one or two more of these shady practices, and now the solutions, our recommendations on how this can be solved. Do stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to Talking Health with DrLaz, your favorite health program on television. Yes, we are continuing our conversation on shady practices that happen in our medical practice in a lot of hospitals and even along the streets in Nigeria, in Africa, and other parts of the world. So we are exposing this so that the concerned authorities will take action. And also for you who is listening, watching us, you also not fall into some of these. Many of them are being practiced by people who are quacks because they have no license to protect. But we also have some few colleagues who engage in these practices just for the sake of making money. So coming to you, Chibueze Obi-George, around things that are happening within the lab. Yes, you mentioned the full blood count or even not doing tests and writing results. And I can attest to that. I've had such experience where I, went to a friend, to a lab to do a test, a blood test, and there was no power supply. And we're waiting, and they said, just wait. And I was just watching to see what will happen. Not after a very long time, we got results. And we knew that that test is not possible to do it without power supply. So we started asking questions, how did you do it and all that. In fact, it's entirely an interesting story. So what are other practices? And I would like you to be pretty fast about it so that we'll have a bit more time to speak to solutions.
Okay. One of the other practices, like you wanted to mention initially, is the case of culture. That is, is now a practice is that some labs or some facilities don't have the capacity to culture organisms, but they take your sample and they know if it's from maybe a urethral swab or endocervical swab or a high vaginal swab. They know the organism that is normal, that is common. They just write the results and write the drugs that are sensitive. They know that it's normally sensitive. So, but it's a very wrong practice. So it's one of the most important scams that people do. And I know.
What about billing separately?
Yeah, exactly. Like the billing separately now, you come to a lab, after maybe you have maybe a patient that didn't see a doctor, but you came for a lab test. You know that maybe you have 5 tests that the person is supposed to do, and you know that these tests can be grouped maybe into 2. Let's say, for example, you have some person might request for they need to know their blood volume, maybe PCV, and they also want to do full blood count. You collect money for full blood count, knowing that
for PCV as well.
Is part of full blood count. You still collect money for the full So it's one of the scams. Then you also see persons. You know that this person, there's no need of doing, you say you want to do organ tests. And the only organ test actually you wanted to do is liver function. But you bill the person both for renal function, you also bill the person for that is the kidney function, and also the LFC, that is the liver function. So and other organ tests, but actually some of them just do the liver function. So it's a wrong practice. And also, in fact, in some of these, one of the scams again in some of our teaching hospitals is the issue of kickbacks. That when you see in most teaching hospitals, also you see persons, they say they're working in the lab, that if you give them money, that they will go and bring the results sharp.
Your results will be faster
for you.
Right.
Fast. Nigerians, they like sharp. They will now pay extra money, give the person extra money to bring the test. Some persons, they might go and bring a wrong lab result for you that was not actually done.
Just to justify the money they've collected.
Just to justify the money they collected, you understand? And some of these things go unpunished, and it's quite terrible. And we'll talk about the consequences and the...
Okay, I think, yes, we have less than 5 minutes to round up. Dr. Ossai, I wanted to quickly speak to one that is common within the pharmacy sector, drugs without labels. And you now say some recommendations on how we can solve this problem in Nigeria and the rest of the world where these practices happen.
Okay, so very quickly, when it comes to drugs without names, this kind of a very common practice that before I thought it wasn't an issue until after I became a doctor, and I suddenly realized that this is actually a massive problem. Now, what they do is that, this usually happens in hospital pharmacies, What they do is that once the doctor writes the prescription and everything, and then you take it to the pharmacy, the pharmacist, whoever the person is, will get the drugs as was prescribed by the doctor and write the instructions on how to take them. But you will not write down the names of the drug. They just put the tablets, mostly tablets. They put the tablets in all these small zip sachets, and then they'll just put the instruction on how to take them. They will not add the name of the drugs there. Now, why is this a problem? It's a problem because at the end of the day, the patient does not know the name of the drug is taken. And that's a massive ethical problem, because the patient has the right to know the name of the drug he's putting into his system. So what if something bad happens now and he is forced to be taken to another hospital, and then they ask him, what drug did you take? And the person has no idea. You understand? And that is a very bad practice, and whoever is doing it in the hospital pharmacy should stop it, because it shows that they don't know anything about the ethics of medical practice.
But sometimes within the pharmacy, there are some of these drugs, the ones that are labeled and those without labels, some argue that they get those ones at cheaper rate because the other ones, due to branding and other associated stuff, makes it more expensive. And because many patients are not wealthy enough to get certain drugs, they opt for those other ones. So how do you fix this? Could it be that if they have such, they should write the name of the drug, or they shouldn't use that at all, given that cost is a major issue in developing countries, access?
I think that this is not a valid excuse for refusing to tell the patients the name of the drugs they are taking. This is an ethical issue that has nothing to do with the cost. So even if the name of the drug is something that will make it look cheap, like for example, now you are giving me vitamin C, but I don't know that it's vitamin C that you're giving me because the tablet looks similar to some other, maybe big paracetamol like that, or something like that. I don't know what I'm taking in. Just because I didn't pay much for it doesn't mean I shouldn't know the name of the drug.
So
that's the issue.
In situation where they have those drugs, they must write the name of the drug.
They must write the names, no matter how cheap or expensive they are. This has nothing to do with the branding. It has everything to do with the ethics of medical practice.
So how do we fix these shady practices in the medical system?
I think I have 3 solutions to this problem. First of all is for the regulatory bodies to actually be serious in cracking down all this, these atrocities that are being carried out by these people. They should start carrying out, serious disciplinary measures. But for them to do that, they need to have the moral high ground. And unfortunately, I can't say that they have this moral high ground, because this problem started from, it has a genesis, and the genesis is gross underfunding of the healthcare sector. So people are trying to survive.
Sorry, I'm rushing you.
I'm trying to play devil's
yeah.
advocate here in a bit.
Yeah. So sorry we just have to 1, 2, 3 because of our time.
Okay. So first, identify, prosecute these defaulters. Second, ethical practice should be made compulsory in medical schools. I don't know how it's done in Nigeria, but it should be a compulsory subject from first year down to 6th year, because I've noticed that many people don't even know anything about ethics in medical practice when it comes to, Nigerian healthcare system. So 2, very important. And 3rd, the funding of the healthcare sector is very critical. If it has to do with, if it must reach the essence of calling for a state of emergency,
right?
If it comes to that level, it must be done.
Thank you, Dr. Sai. Yeah. We've taken that better funding and sustainable funding for health sector. So, Chibueze Obi-George, what are your recommendations? 1, 2, 3, quickly.
There should be regular trainings and retraining of medical professionals to enlighten them and to grant them more
capacities to do the right thing. Yes. Okay, let me also add that there is need for better monitoring and supervision.
Exactly, the inspection.
And the hospital authorities, beyond those regulatory authorities, these things happen within hospitals. And the hospital authorities should fix this. At the state level, it's the state government that gives license to private hospitals. And so many crazy things happen in some of those private hospitals. So they should do their job and monitor the practice that's happening there. People who think they are making money, they are potential victims of some of these practices. So we have a lot we can say, but because of our time, let's end it here. I really want to thank you, Chibueze Obi-George, medical laboratory scientist, for joining us on this program.
Thank you very much.
And also, Dr. Obinna Ossai, thank you once again. We've had you back to back for some weeks now. We really appreciate your time and for the work you do with Contra Health Scam, trying to expose some of these practices. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Anytime.
All right. And to you, our viewers, really thank you for watching today. A key message is for you to know that these things happen, and for you to join in the advocacy for everybody to do their job. No single person or institution can fix this. At different levels, as healthcare professionals, we should practice responsibly. But quackery must be tackled. It's interesting that in the medical profession, professionals cannot advertise, but quacks do advertise. It's a food for thought. So we'll see you same station, same time next week. Bye for now.